Usually if I get something corroborated, that's when I'll start to go further with it. So you'll find an initial paper where I put them first under the microscope and I say, this is what I see. Then I now have a person who I have direct contact with. This is an individual. The first one was sent by mail. And the person says, you can look at my samples. And so I start to dig in. And I start to get under the microscope. And what do I see? I start to see recurring themes again. And the recurring theme here is that what everybody else is calling a single fiber, as this is all being presented, some type of filament coming out of the skin, when I'm looking at it, and by the way, I did a lot of work over the years. You know, I started out with a $30 microscope, but I'm probably pretty proud of the microscope that I've jury-rigged now, because I'm running at about a 5,000 to 8,000 power commonly, and I know they're not perfect, you know, but I am able to see things that simply a conventional microscope can get you up to about 1,000 to 2,000 power. And then you have this jump up to the electron microscope up to 200,000, and it's like there's nothing in between except Rife, which some of us know about, and this guy was at 40 or 50,000, but we don't have him. So you have this huge gap in microscopy between what the little guy can do and then you get up to the big guys. Well, I've been able to bridge that up, extend it up just a little bit to get in the 5,000 to 8,000 range. And it's been quite fascinating in terms of what it opens up. I wish I had more. I'm at the limit of my resources. But I have done some clever work to try to push that using CCD stuff as best I can and jury-rigging Barlows and this type of thing. So I am able to see some things that simply are not seen in the general situation, and one of them is with this filament that people are calling a filament. What I'm seeing is that within the filament there is this submicron internal network. Okay, this is a single filament, the whole thing bounding, which most people are saying that's a filament. But when I look at them, I'm starting to see internal. There is this whole internal filament structure, and measurement is important to me. The size of things is important. It's one of your main methods of identification of things. Is size. Real important. So I always want to know the size. These internal filaments are at the submicron level. Okay? Well, there start to become slowly overlaps. And for me to properly describe this, you know, someone could challenge me and say, what's your basis for that? We'd have to dig into all these papers. But what's happening over the years now is that there is this overlapping that's taking place between certain environmental samples that I was aware of. Remember when I told you about the EPA filament that they wouldn't identify? Submicron range, remember that? I'm starting to see the same type of structure here, morphology and form, within fibers now manifesting at a biological level, not environmental. This is a gradual process, and this is controversial in that there are many individuals that would state that there appears to be really no logical or rational reason to try and connect the consequences of the aerosol operations with the so-called Morgellons issue. There are many people that would state that. I simply present the work that I have, and I must say that over the years as the work has developed, I have come out rather strong. I did one whole interview on it. But I will make an entire case to you involving a dozen papers over half a dozen years, presented in a very gradual and restrained fashion, I would say, that will document to you a very, very strong level of coincidence between certain environmental sample forms that have been analyzed and certain biological forms that are being analyzed. And this is a bridge that it's very, very serious to cross. And I'm not out to scare people. I am out to seek the truth best I can, and I am out to provide it the best I can. But this is a bridge that it appears many of us, we really don't want to cross this bridge. I don't have a choice right now in terms of where the work leads me. There does appear to be a very strong coincidence, and we could go into detail on this. They are certain repetitive structures and forms that are taking place particularly this internal filament form, submicron, and also there is a you'll notice if you look at my papers, I keep calling attention, I'll keep saying this submicron structure. And it's one of those kind of things in my work that people that know the way I work, it might look really low-key the way I'm saying it, but if you will notice how many times I'm calling attention to that, and in this case, I don't know if we can see it here, but submicron, there. These little guys, very hard for you to see, but these are basically spherical. These are really small. These are like at 8,000 power. So for me to be able, nobody would see these with a regular scope. I wish I had more, but I can tell they're there. And we have a submicron spherical structure. This is of much interest to me. I don't know what it is. I've conjectured one thing. But I'm seeing these certain forms over and over and over again. So that'll be one of the main things that I want to impress upon you today, is that there is a strong basis of linkage between environmental and biological manifestation that is taking place. This Morgellons is an issue that has been characterized as being, that has been made a mockery of, but it becomes far more significant than most of us realize at this point, because I would now extend this discussion into 2 or 3 other aspects, and then I would plan on quitting here. But these 2 or 3 other aspects, and I'm not trying to scare you as I say this, but these 2 or 3 other aspects are important to divulge and discuss. And they're on my site, but certainly the word is not out there, and I'm not sure we really want it out there in that way. But here's what happens. Once you get past to this question of is there any kind of overlap, well, the problem goes deeper than that. Because the Morgellons quote issue, and by the way, I did meet with a doctor, and you know I said language is important? I met with this medical doctor, and he sort of says it's all screwed up to begin with, because you're not allowed to have a patient create the name for a disease. It's like not the way the system works. So Morgellons is like a problem from the beginning, because it wasn't formalized properly in the structure. Whether it's intentional or not is all other questions you can ask. But it has that stigma of the language attached to it. And this particular doctor tells me, sorry, that's not the way you play the game. The patient's not allowed to name the disease. So, you know, we have some problems with that. But we're using the term whether we like it or not. I will use that as opposed to chemtrails because it is what we know it as. And it does have a definition. Okay. You have certain people that are manifesting skin symptoms, and this issue is being characterized or framed as, oh, those poor unfortunate people that have that skin problem. It's a small little group off to the side. It's really not a part of my life. I don't see anything, so I really don't need to worry about it. This is a way that has been presented, and is. The CDC, okay, is a quote involved in a study here. It's a study taking years, okay, treating it as this little section hotspot area that's to be figured out over the years as to what it is, okay? Okay, that is how it is being characterized and framed. I'm not popular in terms of what I lead to here, but I'm not after popularity. And again, I'm not after scaring you. But these recurring themes that I'm talking about the filaments and the submicron structures, and also certain what I would call anomalies in the blood. I look at blood quite a bit, and there are certain anomalies that are occurring in blood that I'm seeing. And what's happened is I've looked at these people